This video is sponsored by Mox Boarding House, a combination game store and restaurant. If you're ever in Seattle, Bellevue, or Portland, and I think soon to be Arizona, check them out. Hello friends, it is a lovely rainy day in Seattle, so I thought we'd do a real simple video this week. I'm going to do a quick breakdown and review of every single unit in the Grey Knights Codex. Now, I am going to be reviewing these based off of what I think of them, not whether they're objectively good. Competitiveness, as many of you know, is not what I'm here for. It's not why I'm in the hobby. I'm going to be reviewing these units and breaking them down based off of whether or not I think they're done well, and something I want to use, and something I want, like, that excites me, something that I want to play with, you know? So, to start off, we've got Draigo. Draigo is fun. He's really cool. He suffers from the thing of being a named character, which for me is a problem because this game is about me and my toys and my characters and my guys. So having a named character on the table means the story immediately becomes about them. If Rabute Guilliman is in an Ultramarines list, it is Rabute Guilliman's Ultramarines. It isn't whoever's Ultramarines, it is Rabute Guilliman's story. So Draigo suffers from that right out of the gate. However, he's really fun to play with because Draigo is one of the few models left in the game that has a 3-up invuln. It used to be that Storm Shields just conferred 3-up invuln across the board. When they changed that in 9th edition to be a 4-up invuln and a +1 to their save, most characters who had Storm Shields or Relic Storm Shields were brought up to that 4-up invulnerable save. Draigo, because he technically doesn't have a Storm Shield, he has the Sanctum Sigillum, he has a 3-up invuln. Also, because he doesn't technically have a Storm Shield, he still benefits from Armor of Contempt, so he is very survivable, unless you're me and you only roll 1s and 2s on your dice. He also is the only model in our entire book that has the Chapter Master ability, where you can pick a unit and say, hey, you, reroll all your hits. So that's good. He also still can manifest 2 powers, which is something most of our guys don't have these days. So Draigo is really fun to play with. He's a huge presence on the battlefield. He's big, he's powerful, and he kicks a lot of ass. His model sucks and is ancient. So I made my own, which I'm sure I've put up on there. Thanks, future Stefan. All right, next we've got Grandmaster Voldus. I never ran Voldus because of the aforementioned like named characters thing. I didn't want my stories to be about Grandmaster Voldus. I'm not gonna run him anyway because now he is only part of the 3rd Brotherhood and I'm never gonna run the 3rd Brotherhood. I'm only gonna run the 7th Brotherhood. Draigo has the advantage of being Brotherhood agnostic. He just sort of comes down and helps out whoever. He doesn't help Brotherhood Grey Knights, he helps core and character Grey Knights. Voldus is locked with the Ward Makers, and I'm never gonna run Ward Makers. So I never ran Voldus before. I've never built or painted him, so never gonna. What does he even do in this edition? He's just a Grandmaster, and he has a hammer that -3 and doesn't have the -1 to hit. I guess he knows a lot of psychic powers. Whatever. Next is the basic Grandmaster on foot. I love running Grandmasters on foot. I know you don't see them a lot nowadays, but a Grandmaster on foot is so versatile and fun and has so many options, not just the ranged weapons and the melee weapons, but you can give them all of the gifts of the Augurium, the visions of the prognosticars, or the, oh, I don't want to look it up because I know it. Fuck. Wisdom of the Prognosticars is the category, followed by Visions of the Augurium is one of the subcategories, and Gifts of the Prescient. Anyway, you can give that to your Grandmasters. You can also give them relics, you can give them warlord traits, you can give them 2 warlord traits. You can really just, you can make them your own, you can build them any way you want, and have them, you can build a frontline, like, fighting Grandmaster with a hammer, who has first to the fray, and has the Visions of the Augurium, called Presage Paralysis, where he turns off Overwatch, so he's this guy who's running to the front lines and he's just ready to crush face with his hammer. Maybe even give him the Relic Hammer, the Destroyer of Chrysalix, so he has the 4 damage hammer. You can go to town with that, it'd be really cool. Or you can make an anti-demon guy, give him the Demon Slayer Warlord trait, and give him the Blade of the Forsworn, and maybe he's hunting demon princes, or just slaying demonettes or something. Or you can make him just a super, like, sit back in line, bare bones, don't give him any upgrades, just have him be like, everybody reroll 1s while you're around me. Or maybe he just touches down and gives everybody obsec. There's all sorts of things you can do, warlord traits and everything like that. I love running Grandmasters on foot. Now, you can do most of those things with the next unit, the Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight. The advantage of the Grandmaster on foot, or I guess 2 of the advantages, Grandmaster on foot benefits from Lookout Sir, whereas the Nemesis Dreadknight doesn't because he has so many wounds. And also, this is overlooked a lot. The Grandmaster on foot, being infantry, he can go in and out of buildings, he can shuffle and move around where a lot of bigger units like Dreadknights just can't fit sometimes. So having a smaller base does have its advantages. The Grandmaster and the Nemesis Dreadknight, however, he fucks, by the way. Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight hitting on 2s and wounding most things on 3s, if not 2s, except for the really, really big stuff wounding on 3s. The advantage of he has the opposite advantage than the Grandmaster, because they both give out the reroll 1s aura, whereas the Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight, though, he has a bigger base, so technically his aura is reaching like more units on a like 2D plane, if you really put him in the right spot. One thing that's really fun to do, which everybody does with the Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight, because he doesn't have Lookout Sir, like he doesn't gain protection, he has too many wounds, so he can be shot at even if he's standing behind troops. Give him the relic Sigil of Exigence. That way when he is shot, because everybody goes, there's a big guy, I wanna bang, I wanna shoot him, you can teleport him wherever you wish. Grandmasters and Nemesis Dreadknights, I really like them just because, aside from the fact that they're like the best unit in the book, arguably, it's just cool. The idea of a Grandmaster hopping into a Dreadknight, like a big, heavy, armored suit so we can fight greater demons. I fucking love that. I have Samandus in my list. I have Samandus on foot, and I have him in, or my army. I have Samandus on foot, and I have him in a Nemesis Dreadknight, in case I want to go back and forth. Castellan Crowe is the next unit. I don't know what he wants to do. He ostensibly is real good in melee, but man, he just doesn't, he never does it. I've run him a lot and he's only 6-inch move, and so unless you're deep striking him, even if you are deep striking him, he has to get out of he has to make a deep strike charge, which is very, very difficult. Everyone knows that. He's got 6 attacks, which is cool. The Black Blade of Antweir does mortal wounds on 6s, but for some reason you never roll 6s for him. He can't take hammer hands, so you can't reroll those. You know what he can do? He can pump out a lot of damage one turn before he gets obliterated by whatever's in front of him. He's just a small squishy guy, T4 with his 2-up, 4-up. But being able to pump out Purifying Flame is really good. Purifying Flame is an excellent power. 9 inches, 3 mortal wounds, and then if it's 11 or 12, it's D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. It's an excellent power. And you know, just for that, he's sub 100 points, so at the very least, you can throw him onto the battlefield and you can have him hop out of a Rhino or out of a Land Raider, and you can blast something with his brain, maybe make a charge, maybe do some more wounds there, but at the very least, he's like, nailed it, 3 mortal wounds on something big. I don't know, I've never been able to, again, he suffers from being a named character, so the story's about him when he's on the table. Less so because he's part of the Purifier Orders and not part of any Brotherhood. Voldus is really plagued by that. But yeah, I don't know, he just also, yeah, I've never been able to get him to do what I want him to do. Brother Captain Stern sucks. Not only is his model terrible, his abilities are so bad. Strands of Fate. There's an Eldar ability in the new codex called Strands of Fate, and I wish it was that. Strands of Fate. In your turn, you can reroll one hit roll, wound roll, or saving throw for this model. Sure. On my turn, I can roll saving throw on my turn, so I can only roll if I'm fighting something, so it never comes into play with shooting. Weird. Anyway, reroll a hit, wound, or saving throw on my turn. Sure, that's good, I guess. It's nice to have free rerolls. If you do, in their next turn, your opponent can reroll one hit roll, wound roll, or saving throw for any model in their army. You are giving your opponent a reroll. It's terrible. And then his zone of banishment. Each time this model successfully manifests a psychic power, each demon unit within 6 inches suffers one mortal wound. Never gonna happen. It's never gonna come across. And lastly, he is bound to Ward Makers. Same with Voldus. So never gonna play him because I'm never gonna play Ward Makers. I just don't know. I don't know what he wants to be. Again, like he has the same problem as Crowe. It feels like he has a very specific job, but he's just not good at it. Named characters are coming up short. Aside from Draigo, who's really fun. Brother Captain. Brother Captains are excellent. I wish they did something else. I'm gonna go into that in a second, but first I want to talk about what they do. They have tactical precision, which is our Lieutenant Dora gives our core units reroll 1s to wound, which is awesome. It's very, very useful. He's also 6 wounds and 5 attacks, so he's a beatstick in melee. I give my Brother Captain a Koziel the Soul Glaive always, and so he's rerolling hits and wounds with that, so he's a blender in melee. And yeah, being able to reroll 1s to wound is always beneficial, always a good time. What I wish they did, in 8th edition, the Brother Captains, instead they doubled the smite range of everybody in 6 inches, which was cool, especially in 8th edition when our smite was 12 inches. They doubled it to 24. That was fun. It wasn't always the most useful because it was still the target of the closest unit, but it was fun. It modified our psych abilities as opposed to just giving us a lieutenant reroll. I'm happy to have a lieutenant reroll, but also it would have been cool if his aura was Grey Knights within 6 inches can reroll 1s when casting psychic powers. It'd be so cool, and it'd be so on brand. And it's not unprecedented. Tyranids do that. Tyranids did that in 8th edition. It feels like a missed opportunity. I wish that they had been able to, I wish that they had something more unique than Lieutenant rerolls. But it's good, I'm happy to have that. Brotherhood Champion. What a waste of a data sheet. We have so many HQs. We are not going to take a T4, 4 wound, 2-up save guy who just has... So here's the thing about the Brotherhood Champion. He used to be an interesting unit. He used to have this ability called Blade Arts or Blade Stance. No, Martial Presence, something like that. Anyway, he had this thing where at the beginning of the fight phase you could choose one of 2 stances. He can have 1 to his wound rolls, or he can have 1 to his saves. It was fun, and every fight phase you could do that. You could tactically see if he's like blade parrying or if he's going for the killing blow. He doesn't have that now. They replaced it with he fights first if he is within engagement range of a character. Fine, but he has 5 attacks with a regular ass force sword. A standard Justicar of a Terminator squad has that. 4 attacks, sure, but just a regular Nemesis force sword. He has 1 attack more than a standard Grey Knight, like sergeant of a squad. 1 wound more, and he's 75 points. So, what are you doing? I guess he has character protection, but again, he's troubled by that same thing that Crowe is. How do you get him there? It's just it had the potential to be a really unique unit. Again, it could have been something really interesting. Also, Space Marines, their chapter champions are elites. Why couldn't he be an elite so he doesn't eat one of our HQ slots? Nah. I guess if you're really desperate to fill an HQ slot, or you find your list just has like 80 points left in it, you don't know what to do with them, you can throw him in there, maybe he'll get a few wounds. Librarians. Librarians are a standout unit in this codex. They are very good. They, unlike literally every other character, aside from the main characters, they can cast 2 powers. Oops, Buzz. They can cast 2 powers. I'm going to keep saying this the entire video. In the old Codex, the Grandmasters can cast 2 powers, which makes sense. They're Grandmasters. They drop them down to 1. The Librarian can still cast 2 powers. And interestingly, he can grab powers from the Dominus and Sanctic Discipline, which I missed on my very first read-through with this a year ago. And it's awesome. So he can be very versatile. He can take a wide range of powers and do a wide range of things. There's some fun relics and stuff you can give him. He's cool. He has more wounds than the Brotherhood Champion. I guess he's in Terminator armor. Anyway, Librarians are cool. My current struggle, though, is I hate my Librarian model. He looks fine, I guess, but I hate the static pose like this. I want him to be much more like, I have dreams of someday taking the, the Word Bearer's Praetor and Terminator armor, if I eventually spend the money on it, and sort of molding off all the chaos stuff and turning that into a Librarian and getting some cool lightning effects and stuff. And maybe I'll try that out someday. But a Librarian needs to stand out. A Librarian needs to look psychically more powerful than the rest of your army, because he is, according to his data sheet. Librarians are very good. There's the classic strategy from ever since this codex came out of giving him all sorts of upgrades. The Gem of Enoctu, in addition to Purifying Flame and Vortex of Doom. Deep strike him somewhere, spend a command point on Powerful Adept to extend the range of his powers by 6 inches, and then just obliterate something with 2d3 plus 5 mortal wounds. God, that's a lot. And yeah, just do a ton of mortal wounds in the psychic phase. And then he dies because he's just sitting there. We got 2 more HQs. The Brotherhood Techmarine, which there was no official model for. It's just a blank picture. But the Brotherhood Techmarine. We have Techmarines. They do Techmarine things like every other Space Marine chapter. It's fun. They're much better than they used to be. So they have Awaken the Machine Spirit now. Press a button on the back of a vehicle and it gives it +1 to its hit rolls. You can put that on Land Raiders, you can put that on Dreadknights. It's fun, it's nice. They're also real cheap, just points wise. So, and they're still Psychers, so you can still give them Gate or something to help throw things around. Maybe Warp Shaping, because he's probably going to be hanging back, helping out your vehicles. But I like them, I think they're nice. Again, there is no official model, so you'll have to make your own. But that's some of the fun of this, is there is no Grey Knights character models aside from the characters. Everything else is just get the Terminator box and then just go to town and have a good time and figure it out. And I love that. So you have to custom everything. But yeah, Techmarine, he is okay in melee. Sometimes his servo arms can do a lot of damage, but it's rare that they hit. He hits on 4s with the servo arms. He can only make 2 attacks with the servo arms. So he is honestly just, having him follow around Dreadknights is really good because he can heal them and he can make them attack better. I wish we could do the Forge Father stuff or whatever it is the basic Space Marines can do and upgrade them. I also wish we could upgrade our Chaplains and upgrade our Apothecaries, but that's neither here nor there. The Brotherhood Chaplain. I don't know what our Chaplains are supposed to do. This is another thing I wish we'd grabbed from Space Marines. I also, I keep saying this, in 8th edition, our litanies from the Psychic Awakening book, really interesting. They changed a lot of them here. And I wish, I'm not going to go in too much detail what the litanies do, but they're all very niche, like removing modifiers for ballistic skill checks or removing the effects of psychic powers. And I want them to have more general purpose. Like the basic Space Marines Chaplain has a litany that gives everybody +2 to charge within 6 inches. That's awesome. I would love that shit. That would be so cool. I'd have him chant that, and then I'd gate him across the field where my Terminators all touch down, and then have everybody make 7-inch charges. Oh, that sounds so cool. But as it is, he doesn't do a whole lot. There's a couple of one litany. They all sound the same, so I'm not going to remember them. But it's the one that makes it so that We do additional mortal wounds in the Tide of Convergence on 6s. You still have to pick a single unit and hope that unit gets into melee, and then on 6s they do 2 mortal wounds, which is cool, but it's still a gamble. Very, very niche. You have to go through a lot of hoops, is what it is, to make the Chaplain do what he wants to do. The Brotherhood Terminator Squad. Fuck yes, best unit in the whole book. That's all I'm going to say about that. Terminators are incredible. They're chunky. They're unkillable. Sometimes. And also, and this is most important, the Terminator kit is the single coolest kit that Games Workshop has ever made. Objective point. No argument. Will not be taking questions. Next. Strike Squads. They're fine. They're okay. They're good. They're competitively good. But also, they suffer from a huge problem, which is they're not Terminators. Sorry, guys. That's all of our troops. Terminators and Strike Squads. The option you're going to take, which is Terminators, and the option you're not going to take, which is Strike Squads, simply because they aren't Terminators. And they're very short. And they just don't look imposing on the battlefield. And all Grey Knights should have an invuln. Speaking of Grey Knights with invulns, the Apothecary, because he's in Terminator armor, he has an invuln, which is great, because I think the Space Marines one doesn't, so take that, regular Astartes. I keep saying this, downgrade from the previous Apothecary in our old book. The previous Apothecary had a weapon skill of 2, so I gave mine a hammer, so he was hitting with the hammer on 3s, but now he has a weapon skill of 3, so my guy is hitting him with his hammer on 4s. So he rarely does anything in combat, but he's there to help his friends. Give everybody a 6-up feel no pain, which you will always fail. Most importantly though, spend a command point to bring a Terminator back, which is a very nice change from how it used to be. Yeah, they cast Psychic Powers. Every Grey Knight casts Psychic Powers, because Grey Knights are so cool. Because all of them are Psychers. Everybody's a wizard, and it makes me so happy. The Brotherhood Ancient, super solid unit. Gives everybody +1 attack and +1 leadership, which is really good because our leadership sucks, and I don't know why. But he helps remedy that. He suffers from the character problem we talked about earlier. Not the named character problem, but the character problem of having a lot of characters and not enough people to be in front of them. But yeah, honestly, I love the Brotherhood Ancient. I've got another one I'm painting up right now that I'm excited to utilize. He has a falchion, so he'll be able to deal some damage in melee too. Yeah, it's a good unit. It's a real good unit. Buffing friends around him, and if he can actually get into combat and be up there, and each Terminator has 4 attack space. The Brotherhood Ancient gives another attack, which makes a Terminator Justicar have 5 attacks in melee, which is as much as the Brotherhood Champion that we talked about earlier. Brotherhood Ancient is great, big fan. Paladin Squad. Paladins are rad. I've yet to find exactly what I need to use them for, but I haven't experimented with them as much as I want. They have a lot of versatility because they can take any 2 powers from the Sanctic discipline. They got 4 attacks base. They hit on 2s. They're really cool. They suffer a little bit from survivability, but you can give them armored resilience, which combined with armor of contempt makes them very tough to move. I'm excited to use them more. I think I might actually paint up some new paladins soon. I love my current paladins, but they've got the age factor about them. My painting has evolved since then, and I'm less encouraged to use them. You know what, I'm gonna make that a project. I'm gonna build a squad of 3 paladins, and I'm gonna paint them, and they're all gonna have hammers. Is that wise? Probably not. Purifier squads. Purifier squads are cool. Purifying Flame is such a good power. Straight 3 mortal wounds just feels so satisfying. And within 9 inches, it used to be, their old version of this power used to be 3 inches, D6 mortal wounds, which could whiff hard, as you'd imagine, and also is very hard to actually get off. 9 inches and 3 mortal wounds is very cool. I like them. They suffer from the usual things of Grey Knights models like this, mostly being very small, but I have some that I've custom done with Deathwatch legs, and so they're very fun. Problem is I gave all my guys warding staves, and warding staves are kind of garbage nowadays. I wish I'd given them swords. Should have just always stuck with swords. Swords are the best option. Paladin Ancient. The Paladin Ancient is, you would think, very similar to the Brotherhood Ancient, except his aura of +1 attack only applies to Paladins. So, just the Paladin squad. So he's there just to support the Paladin squad. Not very useful, you say, but he also has an ability called Chapter Banner. In your command phase, select one friendly Grey Knights core unit within 6 inches of this model. Until the start of your next command phase, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. You can choose a Dreadknight, or you can choose a squad of Terminators. Just make them real blenders in combat. So that's fun. That's a fun little ability they gave him, and I'm glad they did. They didn't have to do that. Like, it was a fun little addition. So the problem is, though, his Sacred Banner only applies to Paladins, so you have to run him with Paladins, and Paladins are the only guys who can buff with that. So maybe a couple squads of Paladin might be nice. Very cool model, though. It's nice to have some flexibility. It's not quite a Chapter Master like aura, but it helps. Giving folks +1 to attack or +1 to hit is always good. Servitors, why are you in this book? Venerable Dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts are really fun. They've always suffered from being too squishy because of their 3-up save. Armor of Contempt saves them a little bit on that. They also have Armored Resilience, the psychic power, by default, so that gives them another +1 to their saves. So they're a little more survivable than they used to be. They are also, notably, one of our 2 options for heavy weapons platforms. So if you want to bring las cannons or multi-meltas, you better be bringing a Dreadnought. If you want any range damage that's more than 2, you best be bringing a Dreadnought. I like Dreadnoughts. I think they're super fun. I have one with a multi-melta sitting on my desk that needs to be painted up. I'll get around to that. But for the time being, I have my Assault Cannon Dreadnought with his big glowy power fist, and he's just so much fun. And people also write them off really often. Like, they don't bother killing them because they're like, oh, it's just a Dreadnought. And then you get this guy walking up and he's like, hey, I got 5 attacks and I hit on 2s and the strength 12, AP 3 damage. Jump through most things. Yeah, multi-melted Dreadnought. That's what I'm into. Dreadnoughts are really cool. Very rare for Grey Knights, though. Lore-wise, Grey Knights don't have a lot of Dreadnoughts. Be careful not to run a bunch of Dreadnoughts. Interceptor squads, arguably the best unit in our entire book, competitively. They're very fun, they're fast, they zip around the battlefield, they're the only power armor units that I actually enjoy running, and it's because they're different from Terminators in not just better versions of, because it pains me to say it, strike squads are much more efficient than Terminators. It's just a better deal to take strike squads. I understand that, I'm not going to, but I understand that. Interceptors, however, they have a different job, which is zip forward on the battlefield, claim an objective, and then die horribly. They're really fun. I like them a lot. I have 15 Interceptors, and I've got 5 more on my desk. I like them a lot. They offer some versatility to our book that isn't there. A fast, hard-hitting melee unit that is almost unpredictable because they can redeem strike for 2 command points, and then their 12-inch move ignores terrain as they go through it. Funnily enough, does not ignore difficult terrain. Our teleporters are slowed down by craters. Purgation squads. They're so bad. They don't even ignore the heavy penalty for their weapons. They're weapons that have gravitic generators to make it so they can use them. They're so bad, and Astral Aim is such a terrible power now. Anyway, moving past that. Dreadknights. Dreadknights are objectively great. I have always loved Dreadknights, even though they look silly. I think they're so cool, and I remember in LVO 2020 taking 3 Dreadknights to tournament, and everyone being like, these are terrible units, why would you bring them? And then I brought 3 Dreadknights to LVO 2022, and everyone was like, Dreadknights are OP, why would you bring them? And it was the same models I took. They're great. They're very versatile. They're huge threats. They do a ton of damage in melee. They have a surprising amount of gun, which most people kind of don't warrant. And you can, if you put the teleports, the person teleporter on the back, you can re-deep strike them somewhere across the battlefield, and it becomes a threat that your opponent has to deal with. And flavor-wise, I love a Grey Knight in Terminator armor stepping into an even bigger mech so he can take on like a big-ass corny demon. Like, picture a Dreadknight versus a Bloodthirster. How cool that would be. I love it. Land Raiders of all varieties. We're just gonna go through them all. They suffer from Land Raider problems, which is they're too squishy for how big they are. AOC helps a lot. but they just sort of explode. Last game I brought one and Eldar just erased it immediately. I do like the Land Raider Redeemer, or not the Land Raider Redeemer, the Land Raider Banisher, our specific like Forge World Land Raider. It's got the 2 heavy incinerators on it, so it's 4d6 auto hits. It's a lot of flame power to put out. It's only 1 damage each, but a lot of stuff is -1 damage nowadays anyway, so it feels cool to roll up with a tank that spits out 4d6 auto hitting shots. It's another unit that people underestimate. I played against Black Templars in a tournament at Mox maybe 2 years ago, and an opponent ignored my Land Raider, and I was able to sneak around and incinerate one of his Chaplains. He then charged it with a couple of Assault Intercessors, which did nothing, and an Apothecary, and then when my turn came around, because I didn't suffer the heavy penalty for firing into melee, I just incinerated his Apothecary as well. It was cool having a Land Raider assassin drive around and just set everything on fire. Also, Land Raiders objectively cool, and Terminators can go in them, so it's a Terminator bust, so we love it. Razorbacks, that is our second option for a heavy weapons platform. They are insanely fragile. That's it. You just put the lascan on the back and it shoots that and it misses both shots, and then you just sort of go, well, I'm not core, so I can't re-roll. I've never taken a Rhino. I can't speak to Rhinos. Because don't take power armor. That might be fun to put a bunch of Purifiers in one or something. And then all of our flyers. I'm gonna just sum up all of our flyers. They have no purpose. They feel anachronistic, and I don't know why they're in the book. Of all the Space Marine units they could have given us, they give us the flyers. The Stormhawk Interceptor and the Storm Talon gunship are so expensive, they can't benefit from obscuring. They don't have invulns, they don't have psychic powers, and they just get obliterated turn 1. And then the Storm Raven gunship, insanely expensive. And yeah, you can put Terminators in it, but it's a 3-up save on a T7 body, and it's just obliterated immediately. Then all your Terminators spill out on the ground, and then it explodes, and it kills some of your characters. Maybe I should take a Storm Raven in a list again soon. That might be fun. No, I need to talk myself out of that. Anyway, in summary, I guess that's it. Best unit in this book, Terminators. Worst unit in this book, Servitors? Brotherhood Champion, because he's so disappointing. He could have been something so cool. There was so much potential there, and it's just a waste of a data sheet. But yeah, those are my thoughts on every Grey Knight unit in the 9th edition Codex. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed me rambling nonsense for half an hour. Holy shit. Yeah. Take care, everyone. I'll see you next week with something different.